I muted myself. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Thank you all for joining us. I really like that music. I don't know. I was just jamming to it in the background.
Really good music.
Yeah, really good music. I wonder who made that happen. So yeah, hi, everybody. Welcome to the May Meetup for the Mountain View in San Francisco Meetup group. Really happy to have you here. Yeah, hey, Android Signal for this being live. I see what you did there. So yeah, we didn't have a meetup last month. I don't know if anybody noticed, but that's because we had a lot coming up and we were kind of busy with, a few things here and there. So we are here now with a bunch of updates. So I want to introduce myself and my co-host here. So I'm Kevin. I'm on the Angular team. I'm a program manager here, and I host some of our live streams. And to my right, I don't know about maybe your guys' left, is Mark Thompson. He's a senior developer relations engineer on the Angular team. That's why he has the big A there at Google. And we are here to tell you a little bit more about what is new in Angular version 16, which launched last week. And it includes signals, as if you didn't know, you might now be seeing in the chat because there are signals emojis everywhere. So yeah, there's been a lot going on, like I mentioned, so I want to briefly go over some of the things, and I'll go over them again at the end for anybody that shows up late. But yeah, the biggest thing, obviously, is Angular version 16 launched last week. Woot, woot. And we're really excited about that. There's a lot of really cool features in there, and Angular is basically a rocket ship going out into space at very high speeds, and we use the rocket ship emoji a lot internally. And we also had a really awesome live event, speaking of things hosted by my good friend Mark Thompson, last week. That was on Friday. We had a very awesome studio. Everything is up on YouTube. Absolutely encourage you to check it out. It was really cool. We got to answer a lot of questions, got to take a lot of questions, and I think we'd love to do more of these in the future. So go check that out. Let us know what you think about it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, or you can ask Mark in a couple minutes when he is done with his presentation. What else? This week, big news is Google I/O. So Google I/O was yesterday and today. There are a lot of great announcements coming out of that. Obviously, more than just Angular, but for our purposes, Angular is the coolest thing ever. So we have some talks there. What's new in the web? What's new in Angular? We have some rethinking reactivity with signals. We have a workshop on signals. We have a new signals code lab. It's all signals all the time here in the Angular team right now. And we definitely encourage you to check that out. All the videos are on YouTube. If you have trouble finding them, you can go to the Google I/O website, look in the open source tag section. All of the videos are there. Or you can go to our Twitter, twitter.com/Angular. We have everything there as well for you to check out. So lots of great work. Team put in a ton of work for all of that, and we're really excited to get it out there in the world to show you. We also have a couple of blogs. I know this is a lot, but we have a couple recent blogs that are very interesting. So if you're interested in server-side rendering, for example, there's a new blog there. There's also a very cool blog about moving Angular CLI to Jest, and then in the future Web Test Runner. So really encourage you to look at that. One thing I do want to bring up is that a lot of the features, there are some features in particular the Jest thing, that's in experimental state right now. So we really would love to hear your feedback on that. That's sort of a different level from developer preview, which is what some of our other features in V16 are at. So, there's a lot of interesting stuff that is still being worked on. Things might change slightly, but in order for that to change, we need to hear your feedback. We need to hear what's working, what's not working, and how we could be doing things better. Or you can just tell us you love it all, and we can go home early, and that works too. And then the only other thing I want to cover is something from the community. NGConf is happening pretty soon in June. So June 12th to 15th, it's a community organized Angular conference. So please, 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 if you're interested, check that out. This is a San Francisco Mountain View meetup, so it's fairly local to you all. So if you're part of the Angular community, if you're looking to meet other developers, hear what's new, that is an excellent opportunity for you to check out. So I think that's all I have to say, which I guess wasn't that little, but you're probably much more interested in hearing what Mark has to say. So yeah, Mark is here to tell us all about what's new in Angular version 16, and take it away, Mark.
I'll be honest with you, Kevin. I've been vibing off of that music this whole time as I'm like bouncing around, just because the music is so good. So
Really
I've been having
good.
a really good time with that.
Maybe we can
All
just
right,
have
friends,
the
let's get
music play for
started.
half an hour instead of us, you know.
Yeah, I think people are DJ, NG DJ, something's in there. Yeah, friends, let's just get started. I see a lot of good comments. The great talk show style announcement stream last week. Hey, listen, Michael, you see the vision for what we were going for. Like, this is exactly right. I wanted us to have a talk show style event. So the fact that you noticed what we were trying to do lets me know that it came across the right way. Hello to all of our friends. Live long and prosper to you, Gabriel. Shlomo, who are you going to talk to today? Me and Kevin. We're going to be in the building today, so that's really excited. Let's see. Andre, you received a signal for this to go live. I think you did that. That's clever. I like that. I like that. Oh, the good buddy Lars in the building. Lars, you hang out with us so much, and I just want you to know that we appreciate you. We're always so happy to have you around. So put questions in the chat. You can ask us questions at the end if you're watching live with us. We'll try to get to them. I'll try to answer as many as I can. And I think it's just a really good time for us to get started and share about just some things in V16. We'll talk a little bit about it, and we'll go from there. How's that sound, friends? Give me something in the chat. You're here to say, Mark, you want Mark to say one thing, Bill. Bill, you want me to say it? I want to bring it up, but you got to watch, and I'll let you know and you'll know when it comes up. All right. Let's get my slides on the screen. Kevin, I'll take it from here. Thanks, friends.
Sounds good. I'll get off the screen.
So I really actually like working with Kevin a lot. He's a fantastic addition to the Angular team. And so just having him has been really, really great. So it is like, I guess he can hear me saying this, but it's true. Oh, see, there you go. I actually do really like working with Kevin. All right, friends, let's get started. Angular v16 came out last week. There's been so much content. So here's a really funny story. I got my earpiece in so I can hear you all. But here's a really funny story. If you watched the developer keynote yesterday for Google I/O, there's a part where they announced support in Firebase for Angular Universal, and somebody screams, "Yeah!" That was that was me. I was at Shoreline Amphitheater yesterday for Google I/O. So let's talk about what's new in Angular v16. So if you don't know, everyone, my name is Mark. I work on the Angular team. I'm a developer relations engineer, and I'm always so happy to be on these live streams. As you know, friends, like I love this stuff. I love communicating with you folks and being here. We have a gaming live stream. If you don't know, we do once a month. We didn't do it this month because we did so many live events, but we have our gaming live stream that's coming back in June. So stay alert and keep on the lookout for that. All right, let's get this thing cooking. My slide clicker's not working. Let's get it back working. Okay. So here's something really interesting about Angular that I think folks may have questions about. And that is, what does Angular fit in Google's web strategy? Well, Angular is Google's default recommendation for building web apps. So that hopefully it helps you to understand Google's commitment to Angular and our commitment to you all to continue to build this framework and make it the best that it possibly can be. And to be honest with you, the framework has been experiencing lots and lots of advancements over the past years. So I saw a really cool tweet by someone who said that we advanced like 5 years in terms of technology and advancements in the framework in like 5 months or something. And that's really true because we have been working super hard and really diligently to bring Angular to you and give you the features that make your life better as developers, which is really, really exciting. Now, before I get started describing all the new features and things that we announced, you know, it may be interesting, like to you, is you wonder, like, how do we know what we're going to do next? And that's a question that I think people ask. I've even asked our leadership, and you know, just to understand, how do we know what we're going to do next? Well, to be honest with you, we listen to the community and we look at data. For example, our developer survey gave us a lot of information for the one from 2022, and we had over 10,000 responses, and we were able to take data from those responses, and it really helps us to know what the community wants and what they need. Okay, let me say it a different way. So we know what we want, and we know what you want and what you need. So let's actually jump into some of the latest features that you can expect to be using in V16, such as the updates around standalone APIs. Now, I know y'all love some standalone APIs. Y'all been asking for it, and you don't want modules in your code, or you want less modules. And so things have been getting better. And we like to use the language standalone APIs because people were saying standalone components for a while. And remember, standalone components, standalone components, pipes, and directives. So if you haven't been taking advantage of those APIs for standalone, be sure to do so. Okay, friends. So here's what we could expect when we get to our standalone components, right? So this is a standard. On my screen, I have an application that has our component in it, and it has an ng module with declarations, imports, and our bootstrap, and we're actually using the bootstrap module function from the platform browser dynamic, right? Now, here's what's wild about this. Once you move over to standalone, this is what you can do. This is the same code. This is the same file, but we've removed all of the boilerplate that you would have to use for standalone components. And now look at how small this has turned out to be when we remove all that other stuff. But here's something else really nice. Check this out. I love this little function, bootstrap application, because we're able to bootstrap an app from a component and not just from an Angular module. All right, Kevin, I can see you on screen. Give me a thumbs up if I should take questions now or come back to them at the end. Okay, let's do one now. I saw one from Michael Faith. Let's answer this question. Fine. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so with standalone momentum continuing to roll, will Angular material components receive standalone-ification? I like that. Thanks, Michael Faith. Thanks for always tuning in. So will we get to Angular material? We are discussing what that looks like, just because Angular material is a pretty robust part of the framework, and there's just a lot there. And we're trying to figure out, what does a migration look like? Can we migrate it all? When will that happen? We don't have any timelines on that, but we are talking about it. Thanks for that. Fantastic. All right, I'll keep going unless another question comes up, Kevin. Now, here's what's next for standalone components. And this is really, really, really fantastic stuff. We know that part of the story right now for standalone components is being able to migrate your applications, right? So right now, if you want to migrate it, you have to do all this by hand. You have to go through, and sure, adding the standalone true flag in your component doesn't really take a lot of effort, right? You can just add that. But then what do you have to do? You have to move all of the dependencies for that component into the imports of the component metadata decorator. And then if you want to bootstrap your app, you got to delete all of the ng module code, and then you got to set up your bootstrap app. And this is something you had to do before, and it's just extra work. And we think that we can just do better, to be honest with you. So here's how we're doing better. We have a new migration that you can use, ng generate at angular/core:standalone. You do that, it'll migrate your existing application to standalone components. So, and on our screen, we see that our app.module.ts, that file is gone now. We no longer need it after running the migration. Then we have the standalone flag equals true in our component. And then in main.ts, you can bootstrap your application. Now, I want to touch on something real quick before I go forward. I saw a really nice example where someone put their app.component.ts into the main.ts and just had a nice little, like, crisp looking file. And then I asked our team internally, like, why couldn't we just do this as a part of the ng new standalone experience? And then app component doesn't become testable. And I know that for a lot of developers, they put very little code in their app component. They use that as just like the bootstrap component and then link out to everything else inside there. But turns out that's where it's not going to work out for us when we want to do our testing story. So testability is pretty important. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Does that matter to you? Does it matter if you can't test your app component because you put in your main.ts? I'd love to hear what you folks think. All right, let's do a couple of questions, Kevin, before I move on to the next part.
Sure, sounds good. So Tramar asks, will that be possible for a library too? So I'm not sure which.
Oh, to migrate your library using standalone component with the. Oh, good question. You can run this on your library code, but of course, with all of our migrations, we do the best that we can. And then if there's something else that we can do, we try to let you know. Good question. I did see one from Best Videos. We'll say that's when I get to that point.
Okay, yeah.
So that'd be pretty good.
We can save that for the end or for a little bit later. I'll get it started.
Okay, sounds good. All right, here's something else we got for you that we know is going to be super exciting. So I just showed you the migration path, which, by the way, speaking of paths, you can actually migrate via the path flag. And just, if you don't want to migrate your entire application, you can just migrate part of your application. Very, very smooth. You can do that. But here's what else you can do. You can also use the standalone flag when you're creating your application. That's going to be a nice way to create a new application. And we're aware that when you're adding some things, there's a little bit of trouble doing an ng add. We're working on it. Literally, we're working on it really diligently to try to make sure that we can fix that up and make this experience even better. Okay. I'm looking to the side at the questions as you folks are going to. All right. Here's something else that we did. We know. So many files when you start up an app. Back in version 14, this is what the file tree represented. We had lots of configuration files, lots of stuff that you may not have needed when you're starting building out your apps. But we did learn an important lesson. When we removed the environments file by default, but didn't add in the schematic to create environments.ts, we learned an important lesson. So again, this is how we learn what to do next. We added back in a schematic where you can generate that environments file if you need it, to make your life easier. But look at version 16 compared to version 14, a pretty significant reduction in the number of files, especially when you do a standalone component. And we believe that this is going to make the initial entry into an application for new developers or developers new to Angular specifically, this just feels less daunting. And this gives you just a more comfortable feel when you first get started. Okay.
There's a quick question I want to get to here from Gabriel.
Sure.
Does it automatically add standalone flag to other schematics?
Ooh, good question. We're going to flag that question, and I'm going to go back to our tooling team and see if that's the case. Because, Gabriel, I don't know right now if it will do it to other schematics, but we can find out, and we can get back to you. We can definitely get back to you. That's a good question.
All right.
Could you ask that question? Well, that question should be in the comments. But if you ask it as a comment, I'll make sure that we come back and answer it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll note it down as well.
Sounds good. Yeah. There's one comment from Junaid.
Yeah.
This is something we're super aware of. ng add right now, there's a little bit of complexity because of the shape of the application takes when you do a bootstrap application. A lot of schematics are looking for the module to add the PWA and other libraries to. We're actively working on that. And it's actually not as small of a change as one may consider. One may think that this is a pretty small change to fix. It's actually pretty complex because we want to make sure that it's robust enough to serve not only our schematics, but the schematics of other developer groups, right? So we want to make sure we do the right thing for everybody. But we are super aware of that feedback. All right, I want to jump into reactivity here. All right. Now, reactivity in Angular is super hot right now. Like the streets are buzzing with reactivity because we announced signals. And first and foremost, I got to remind you all that this is new and in development, specifically developer preview. So APIs are going to change. We just had a huge RFC that was like 5 parts, asking all of your feedback so that way we could do the best we could to get your feedback to know how to move this part forward. So just remember, all of this is still in developer preview. APIs are still in development and still changing. Okay. And before we dive into what was released, let's make sure that we're on the same page about change detection. All right. Now, that's the mechanism for people who may be new to Angular. I know all you pros in the chat already know what change detection is. But for somebody who may be new to Angular, change detection is how we know when to re-render what's on the screen. And we use something called zones to do that, which really makes a lot of sense for a person new to the framework because you don't have to know anything about how reactivity works when you're using zones at first. And that was the big value. At first, you didn't have to know anything about how reactivity works. But what we found that as application scales, you got to know a lot about how change detection works and reactivity works. You got to get super deep into it to get the best performance. And then even then, the performance may not be what you want. So that's one of the motivating factors why we chose to update the reactivity model in Angular. Now, what are Angular signals, which is our new idea, right? Signals are, it's the Angular that you already know. It's still Angular, still Angular. This is not us forking into a new library. It is still Angular. It's just we have some new reactive primitives that we hope will simplify your development and help you to build faster apps by default. All right, let's see what people are saying. All right, okay, good. I'm just checking the comments, making sure the streets are happy because I know people have some feelings about stuff.
Yeah, just to reiterate, there are some questions we're saving until the end, just because I don't want to break Mark's flow, even though I'm doing it right now by talking. But we will get back to you, so you know.
I was hoping that everybody noticed this practical. So I use practical effects in my video. This is real. You see this shield? And look at this. And the paper, real paper.
Mark uses that when he goes into battle with other frameworks, you know.
Real quick, I will answer this question for Junaid. What should you do? You can start. Okay, so have your app be Angular 15 for now, then migrate it over to 16 using the schematic, right? Because then once you add all the libraries that you need to start with, like your PWA and stuff like that, the schematic is smart enough to be able to move it around. So do that. Live on the edge, live on the bleeding edge, right? Do that. Okay, let's keep going. So hopefully that helps you as a way to move forward. So this is reactivity everywhere, which is also something different that we're doing with signals, because you can put your state changes anywhere in the code and not just in components. Because right now, all the reactivity is in the components. All right, something just to think about. So what are some of the core tenets that we're going to get with that? So we said reactivity everywhere. Then what about the precision updates, right? Because we want to help you to minimize the work that Angular performs to keep the DOM up to date. Anybody who's ever written an Angular app and had to deal with some of the pitfalls of the current reactivity model, you already know the pain that you feel when you see that change detection ran over and over, and you're like, wait, well, one thing changed. Why did it run 5 times? Or why is it unpredictable? Or why do I need a whole book just to know how to get the performance right? Yeah, we think we can do a really good job with this with precision updates. Okay. And then here's the thing that I love about this, and I think you folks are going to really love as well, is that it's a lightweight dependency. So signals, the implementation is about 2 kilobytes, right? And it is fast. There is no requirement to load any third-party dependencies, and there is actually no front startup cost when your page first loads, because we're not pulling in another library from a third-party source and over a CDN. This is just a part of Angular/core. That's how you get into your signals. All right, so pretty fast up front, which is really nice. But why are we even doing this? I talked about some of the problems we saw with zones at scale, but we do have a few core goals that we're going for. First, we want to simplify that development story for you. All right, so conceptual simplicity. Look, we want to tackle your trickiest problems on top of the simple primitives with intuitive APIs, right? So you should be focused on building your app, not debugging change detection. We can do better, and we're trying to do better with that, okay? And then next, these are familiar concepts. So we're turning Angular state model into best in class, right? We're making it best in class so that it aligns with the other framework state change models. And guess what it does? If you come from another framework, you can jump in because you've seen some of this before. You'll know what's going on in these streets, these Angular streets, okay? And then there's the interoperability. We want signals to work with existing Angular applications. Can't stress this enough because somebody, I saw somewhere online some of the feedback that people feel like, well, what's going to happen with my change detection with my existing apps? Is it going to break everything? Are you going to force me to change? I spent a lot of time. No, these are opt-in. Even when we get them out of developer preview, they'll still be hit. They won't be hidden. They'll be controlled by flag. Okay. Our goal is really strong here about being backwards compatible. Now, if you have an existing app, you can start to use signals in only a few files, right? You don't have to go the whole way. You don't have to be like, all right, today is the day that I'm going to change every single file. Start small. Just start building out some signal apps or some signal components. Get the feel and the flow that you want. And then over time, you can decide how much of the code you want to have adopt signals, but you get to choose the flow. You are in control, right? Doesn't that feel good to be in control of the way the framework allows you to use our new features? Because even when it comes to NG modules and standalone components, you are in control over when you use those things. We hope that you use them. We know that there's some magic there, but we understand it's going to take you some time, and we're here for you. There's this one place, isn't like Motel 6 where we say we're going to leave the lights on for you? Like Motel 6, we'll leave the lights on for you. That's a US hotel chain. And that's how we kind of like, look, we're going to leave the lights on for you. All right? We got your back. Just hang in there with us. And then here's something that's really awesome. And as I saw Brandon Roberts in the chat a little bit earlier today, we got interoperability. So we are compatible with major reactive frameworks and state libraries. Now, this is going to be really useful if you need to go beyond what Signals provide. Signals will give you some tools, but you might need more. So if you're already using these other tools, they'll still work. And here's something else about this that I think is really great to talk about, which is how the signal story with RxJS. All right. Lots of people have questions about this because I saw a lot of comments of, oh, well, you all are replacing RxJS with signals. Not quite. RxJS is good at this thing that the way I describe it to people, we need to react to unpredictability in data and events. When I say unpredictability, don't conflate that with instability. Unpredictability means you don't know when or if it's going to happen, right? And then how many times it will happen. So think about that model as your data or events flow, right? How many times will I click my mouse in a given day? You have no idea. No idea how many times I'm going to click my mouse. So that is an unpredictable event that will happen an unpredictable amount of times. That makes a lot of sense for RxJS because when that stream of events that happens over time comes into fruition, guess what you get to do? You have a tool that is really excellent. And for asynchronous, because it's unpredictable, right? And you're not sure how many times, if it's going to happen, it's asynchronous. A signal is synchronous. That's the difference. Signals are synchronous. RxJS is asynchronous. So you get to react to things that are asynchronous with an asynchronous tool that is excellent for asynchronicity. Oh, did I just say that? Yes, I did. Asynchronicity. I feel like a genius right now. I feel like a genius. Let me take some questions before I go to the next section.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have one here from Andre. Is it possible with signals to have two signals, one for an array of users and another for an object filter? And when changing the filter to make an HTTP request with a filter object and update the users list?
Yup. Andre, that's a great question. So when you want to do something in signals based on a change that has happened, you got to use effect. So the effect function will help you to do that because if one of those signals that changes happens, then you could do what you want to do, right? You do what you want to do. It'll run the effect. Good question. Good question. Oh, wait. I knew I was right because Lars said it too. See? And Lars is a genius. So
There you go.
that's right.
And then we have from Bill Odom. With standalone and imports and change detection strategy and suit signals, my component decorators are getting busy. Any developer experience improvements in the works you can tell us about?
I can tell you about it. I can tell you we're thinking about it. I actually called this out in the RFC for Angular when we were doing our RFC. Oh wait, did I go too far? I don't know. That's okay if my thing changed. Yeah, in the RFC internally, I was like, yeah, we got too many flags in the component metadata decorator, the component decorator metadata. Excuse me. We got too many things in there. So we're actually looking at it. I have some ideas I'm going to share with the team, and the team has some ideas already too. So we're going to see what we can do. Good question.
Alrighty, and then Dromar853 says, will the HTTP client switch to Signals, and will RxJS not be a mandatory dependency anymore?
Good question. Will HTTP convert to Signals? We're going to look at what HTTP does and see if it makes sense. I called you Dr. Omar before, but it's Dromar. I remember that. I remember you on the gaming stream. Yeah, will RxJS not be mandatory dependency? You know, there are a lot of architectural decisions that we will have to make sense of. I can't even speak to what our long-term plans for that are, and I don't want to give any false information about that. That's something, but I can tell you this. A lot of the questions that you folks are asking, we talk about, and we're just trying to figure out what the right story is for the community, because the one thing we can't afford to do, and not even afford, the one thing we don't want to do, we just don't want to leave developers out and harm developers who have invested time and effort into this framework. So we'll always try to make a decision that supports the community so we can bring everybody along together.
All right, and then Lance asks, any hints on how reactive forms will change in a zoneless world?
Oh, so many hints. What can I say? I can say the same thing I just said, that we're talking about it, trying to figure it out. Zoneless world. I'm going to talk about zones in a second, actually. So let me get back into this. I have some comments on zones. So let's actually talk about, because that's a good segue. Thank you. See, y'all are just like up in this building. All right. So where we're going to go next in the reactivity space? That's a great question. So we're going to be actually exploring how to make Zone.js optional, but keeping backwards compatibility and interoperability. So remember, I was just talking about this, right? I was just talking about how it's so important for us to remain backwards compatible. I can't stress that enough. We don't want to introduce something in Angular, let's say 19 or 31, and then everybody else's Angular apps before that are just toast. We really try to do that. Try not to do that. We don't want to make your apps toast, because we know that you folks care. Oh, we're also going to be looking at this. Right now in the developer preview, we're still using zones and change detection, right? But we think we can improve performance by making change detection to run like locally, like small, fine grain, right? So you can only update the components that need to update, right? That need actually a view update to be specific. I cannot talk today. To be specific, down to the view level. All right, and then we're going to work on simplifying APIs around lifecycle management. Y'all had a lot of feedback on the RFC about that. When we had the stream, y'all were not happy. Not want to say people weren't happy, but people had a lot of meaningful feedback, right? Like actual meaningful feedback that we took. It was like, oh yeah, the people care about this. Let's make sure that we're mindful in any changes that we make. All right, and then last but not least, we're going to be looking at the ecosystem to evolve it together, meaning we're going to keep working with library authors. We're going to keep working with you folks as developers to make sure we're doing the right thing. Okay. Let's see. Let's see how. Here. Yeah, see. Go ahead for it.
Okay, so Tinnick asks, will the RxJS adaptation also become zoneless, or can we opt into it?
No. It's too early to know exactly what's going to happen there, Tinnick, but thanks for the question, though. But it's too early to know.
And then, apologies if I mispronounced the name, Hemant asks, how would signals affect NGRX?
Well, we're working with that team to try to make sure that everything still works, and that signals and NGRX, like the interoperability story, is really important to us. So we're working with people from all those teams and trying to do the best we can.
All right. And yeah, I think those are the questions until now.
Okay, sounds good. We're gonna keep going. All right, now we're also updating the build chain to meet developers where they are, right? So we've been using Webpack, and it has been serving millions of Angular developers And it has a really rich ecosystem of plugins and really, and this is important because it has so much value, complete functionality. Like, yeah, it's super, super duper complete, meaning like just it's been around for a while and people have been using it and improving it. But to support growing code bases for the past year, we've been experimenting with something super duper cool. And the streets have probably guessed it, ES Build. And we're using that to power the underlying mechanics for bundling and transforming source code. Now, ES Build is a really high-performant bundler and is implemented in a fun language that some of you all may be working on in your weekend time because you all are so many geniuses. Go. It's implemented in Go. Anybody working in Go or Rust or trying like some of those other like performance C replacement languages, comment in the chat. I'm just interested if we got any crossover in this audience. I see a comment from Gabriel de la Rios. Why is Angular so good? Gabriel, we were born this way. We can't help it. No, I'm kidding. We're so good because of you all. Literally because of the community, because of the feedback, because of the participation, because of the pull requests, because of things like this. You guys are hanging out with us right now and talking. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I think, I mean, just to sort of step in here, I think one of the really exciting parts about working on Angular and working on an open source project like this is that we get to work directly with the community and we get to really collaborate with you all to make this happen. I mean, every time we have an update, we have awesome updates that are pushed into the version from community contributions on GitHub and feedback on the RFC and all of these things. It just contributes to making this really, really effective and really good, and goes back to what Mark was saying about feedback at the beginning, that it's really core to what we do.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so guess what else is happening though? Something good. In V16, we got Vite in the building. This is Vite like feet, not Vite. We get Vite in the building for the development server for the ng-serve experience. All right, but this is only for development server, okay? Only for development server. Now you could try Vite in ES Build in V16, so give it a try. If you have not ng updated, do so. All right, now here's something interesting. When we look at the developer survey, the streets are asking for better support in a few specific areas. All right. And we agree we can better support the debugging experience, the testing experience, and server-side rendering. Look at these metrics of satisfaction. Y'all are not happy, and we understand. Okay, we understand. So back in 2022, we did something super rad. We worked with the Chrome DevTools team to implement improved stack traces. Now we're doing this by keeping them relevant. We're removing call frame names that's coming from other framework runtimes or third-party libraries. We also collaborated with them on something really dope called the async stack tagging API, which will concatenate stack traces coming from micro and macro tasks for a more complete picture. Now, this is so, so nice. And then we're doing one other thing that I cannot wait until it drops because it's going to be so fantastic. We're exploring how to improve source maps so we can show you the call frame name directly in your templates. Imagine a world where instead of that app component click 3 listener, you know, it just tells you the exact like call frame from your template. This is coming. We are working on it and it's coming. Okay? Seriously. Just hang in there, friends. Keep sticking with us. We are following through on so many of our promises. When I say this is coming, this is coming. All right. Now, here's something else super great. Developer communities change, tools change over time, and people, they just work in different ways. And so what do? We decided to include experimental support for Jest. Experimental. Experimental. When you hear experimental, I want you to think experimental, not developer preview, as Kevin pointed out earlier. The rules are different with experiments. We don't even know if this is going to work for y'all. All right. So like it's just an experiment. We're trying it out. All right. Developer preview is different because we're hoping that like, okay, we think this is the right direction and we want to move forward with it and we want to get all your feedback. Experimental is like, yeah, try it. Definitely don't put it in prod. I think it was Lars who said if it's in dev preview, it's going into prod. Not this. Experimental. Give it a try. And then you'll find some in that documentation. We have some ideas about how you can integrate, but definitely on the experimental side. All right, let me pause for a second. Let me just get to some questions. I see some funny comments. Nuno says Lars will use it in prod anyway. Listen, Lars and a bunch of you folks are geniuses, so I bet you can figure it out. Steve Whitman,
Yeah.
can you flag his comment?
Yeah. I heard
Okay.
mention of hydration improvements. Is there anything new that we can try use now?
Steve, ooh, you came at the right time because I'm about to talk about that right now. Excellent.
All right, perfect segue.
Let's see.
There's one question here about Vite. With Vite joining the fold for serve, have there been any experiments with VEI test for testing?
Oh, well, yeah, not yet that I know of. The team does a lot of stuff, but nothing that I know of for testing. Not yet. I won't even say not yet. Just nothing I know of. I literally don't know anything about it. I'm not being coy. I just don't know if we're doing anything with that. Good question.
Yeah, I think those are the questions that we have so far.
Okay.
Well, just a reminder there are some questions from much earlier that we're going to address at the end because they're a little bit more general, and I don't want to break up Mark's flow. So.
It's okay. I'm talking a lot. When this meetup has to end at 19 minutes, and I have a lot to talk about. Let me speed up a little bit. All right, so let's talk about server-side rendering, what the streets came to find out about. Here's something that we found out from the Chrome UX report, and let me tell you why this is a big deal. So based on the data from that report, the Chrome's UX report, we found that server-side rendering can lead to an improvement of 40x for cumulative layout shifts. That's such a big deal for your users who use your app. All right. Now, how do we do something with this for Angular? What does Angular come into the picture? Well, an important aspect of server-side rendering is the hydration mechanism. And this is where things are going to get awesome. And Steve, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Let's talk about what hydration actually means. Let's actually go through an example together, okay? So hydration is the process of, I won't say hydrating the UI, but let's actually go through it so we're all on the same page. So let's check out this example. We have a browser running on your laptop, and then we have a server, okay? Then when you open a web app, the browser sends a request to the server. Now, if the app is using server-side rendering, the server will run it, okay? Now, once it runs it, it's going to return that markup. So on the server side, it's actually going to run your app code and try to generate that markup from your Angular application. And then after that, it returns it, and then the browser will render the app. Now, at this point, the application is not interactive. This is how it works right now. It's not interactive. It has all the structure and the styles, but it has not loaded any JavaScript. Now, as the next step, the browser will download and execute the JavaScript reference from the HTML. Now, the framework will take over and make your app interactive. Okay, now currently, here's what you get, okay? You get that little flicker. You see that flicker? This is what you get right now when you use, well, not now, but like before last week. This was the state of the world. Your page loads, and then we have to re-render everything, and you get that glitchy, looking flicker. Okay? Not awesome. And we explain to you why that's happening. See, the flicker happens because once Angular starts up in the browser, it destroys the existing content. Okay? And then it re-renders the application. My clicker's just not working. Okay. But we're going to do better. And we call this destructive hydration. So it takes all your content, throws it in the browser. So you get to see it. It looks nice, but you can't interact with it. Then we're like, oh, yeah, let's get Angular involved and let's tear it down and then redraw everything. And then you get that flicker. But with hydration, here's what we're doing right now. This is available for you right now. Instead of re-rendering everything, Angular will intelligently, using the smarts. Angular can be smart sometimes. And it's going to traverse the DOM and then the corresponding event handlers and it'll add the corresponding event handlers, and it'll create the data structures that make your app interactive. How fantastic is that? That's what we call hydration. Now, I'm an old Java developer. That's how I started my career as a senior software engineer doing Java. And when I hear hydration, this is not what I think of. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you were a Java developer, what do you think of when you think of hydration? What library comes to your mind? And then what comes to your mind? Just a little, curiosity. What do you folks think of from the old school with when you hear hydration? Because that's not what I think of as this stuff. I think it's something else. Hydration does something really fantastic for you, though, even though it's changed, the definition's changed. Come on, clicker. 45% faster to largest contentful paint. Largest contentful paint. Fantastic. 45% is noticeable. 45% changes the way that people perceive your application and the way your users interact with it. This is a really meaningful update. And boom, right there. Sorry, that was super loud. Sorry. Boom. Hydration is on developer preview. And you know what's so fantastic about this? Let me tell you, people. What's going on, Angela? Good to see you. Let me tell you what's so fantastic about it. One line change. So one line change, if you already have your application set up to use Angular Universal for server-side rendering, it's one line. And then you get to take advantage of it. Super fantastic. So what's going to happen? I saw a question. I'm going to answer your question right now, Tim, because that's what I want to talk about, right? We're working on some stuff because we think we can do better. Guess what we're going to explore? Partial hydration. Right? So to further enhance the apps, we're going to look at partial hydration, and we'll enable loading and hydration only the components part of the tree, only part of the component tree that you want. Now, what will this do? This will enable developers to build server-only components and server-side rendering with granular code loading. Is that so fantastic? Right? Like think about what this is going to do for you. You're going to be able to do a lot of stuff. We're working on this. Totally working on it. When we're going to deliver it to you, when it's ready. That's how we work, right? When the changes are ready, we will give them to you. let me answer some questions before I go on to the next section.
Sure. So Gabriel asks, can you already set up Universal for fully standalone apps?
Gabriel, it works. It super works. If you want to see the code, I have a video for the V16 recap. I tell you exactly how to do it for NG module and standalone apps. You can do that right now.
All right, and then Alcatraz asks, is Tailwind CSS going to work with the new ES-Build dev server in the future?
Oh, good question. I don't know the answer to that, Kevin. We're going to tag that question.
I will note that.
Alcatraz, good to see you again. Another person who watches the stream. Alcatraz watches the stream and participates. So, I recognize you. If you either reply as a comment on the video, Alcatraz, we'll reply there, or you can comment to us on Twitter and tag me, and we'll reply there. I'll get the answer for sure. Good question.
Lance, I don't think did I ask this already? Any advice on how to do the equivalent of switch map with signals? As in, I'd like to make an observable-based call in response to a signal.
Oh, good question. Don't know right offhand. But this is a really good question, Kevin. Let's please tag this question. Okay. Because one thing we're going to work on is how to do some of this stuff where it makes sense to do it in signals. We're going to work with some content around that, Lance. And maybe it'd be a blog post, maybe a video, but that's excellent feedback.
And then,
excellent feedback.
Yeah, Hemant asks, while using Angular server-side rendering, I have to constantly keep checking for the browser to run a lot of things that involve DOM elements. Is it just me?
Oh, with hydration, things are gonna be better. Try it with hydration, and see if you can get it working. Okay, try it with the new hydration model. And if it doesn't work, comment on this video and let us know, and then we'll reply. Yeah, that's the big part of my new life.
Yeah, if we don't have the answer right now, please, after this is done, leave a comment on the video, and we will get back to you. All right, I think you can go ahead.
All right, awesome. Well, we're running short on time. We've got a lot of stuff to say. All right, so we got a bunch of incremental updates. And so they might, so we got these really big things with hydration and signals, but we got some other stuff that's just, quality of life improvements. And while each of these might be a small step forward, they really come together to create just this really nice, just overall improvement for the developer community. All right, here's one thing. If you haven't been using it, the streets have been asking for a very long time. In GitHub, you asked for it, you finally got it. What is that? Required input. So now at compile time, right, you can get some feedback that an input is not being passed in. Right. So all your assertions and all that kind of stuff are like null or undefined and all those kind of things. Yeah, you're going to find out. Required. It's here. Hope that you love it. Really hope you love it. Guess what else? The Angular language service has been updated as well. We love this thing. The ALS, in my opinion, is one of our best tooling features. And it got even better because now you can do automatic imports for standalone components. Another place where this is awesome. Guess what else we've been doing? Router changes. You're making the router configuration more functional. Look at these functional resolvers, functional route guards. Functional. A little bit less code to write, a little bit smaller, hopefully making things smoother. And then we also want to be consistent with all the paradigms that we introduced in our standalone component stuff. So hopefully it makes a less complex mental model just across Angular, right? Where it makes sense for you. More router changes. You can now bind router data as component inputs. I didn't know that people wanted this, but it sounds like this is a big deal for people. People were very excited about this. I didn't know how bad people wanted this, but you can do it. You do path parameters, you do query parameters, bound as inputs, route data, you get your resolvers and data properties, all bound as component inputs. So when you route to a new place, you can just bind. That's nice. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's nice. That's a nice, like, convenient feature. Excuse me. Oh, here's something else I know that our friends will love in the streets. I say the streets, I just mean the Angular community. There's a new injectable destroy ref. Now, this is going to give you lots of flexibility in registering to clean up logic in your app. I know people have been asking for ways to do this, and now you can kind of get in there and do some stuff like the example we have on our screen now. You can unregister like an observable or subscription once your component gets destroyed, and you just inject that destroy ref and then do the .undestroy. And then when it gets destroyed, boom, you can unsubscribe and be really flexible. Hopefully that's really nice for you. Now, this is one thing that I hope that all of you are using. So nobody talked about my hydration thing from Java. I was hoping that we would have had some people talk about, hydrating data. You get hydrated data, but that's not what I was talking about, I guess. I guess I'm just
from the old school. I thought you were talking about coffee, but that's just me.
No, I was talking about Hibernate, which is this library that we used to love in Java. I think people still love it, but Hibernate was a big deal. And then you would like hydrate your data model when it came back, so you can get, okay. It's all right. Here's what we found out. If you're not using the image source thing, the ng source, you're really missing out on a lot of performance. So we built this with Chrome Aurora team, and you get a lot of details. One thing I really love about ng source is that once you use it, if you don't specify all the optimizations, you'll get warnings in your browser terminal. In your browser terminal, you get warnings. It'll let you know what to fix. And guess what? When Land's End did this, boom, 75% improvement in largest contentful paint. You mean to tell me these types of numbers aren't meaningful to you? I know they are. So go ahead and use it. Guess where you can get it? You don't have to download anything extra. It comes in common. You get it. It's ready for you. It is ready for you. Kevin said we ride motorcycles in the grid. I like that. Oh man. Let's see. As a part of this latest release of this directive, we added something for you. We got something. The automatic generation of the source set attributes. Source sets. I had to learn about source sets actually when I was trying to understand some of the value in some of the things we were adding here. Source sets are super rad. They allow you to just have images of different resolutions and different sizes based on some criteria that you can specify on your web page. And so now you can use the source sets attribute. It'll generate it automatically. Oh, and guess what? We backported it to Angular version 12 and newer, just because we care about you. So here's something cool on the partnership front. Somebody asked about this. People always ask about material. Well, we're really excited because we're working very closely. We're like nose to nose, just hanging out like, hey, what y'all doing? With the material design team at Google, and we're building the public reference implementation of Material 3 for the web. So Material 3 support Angular Material will land later this year. It is coming. You all have been so patient. Thank you. And you'll be, and we'll be enabling significant expanded way for higher customization, because you'll be able to use a large set of design tokens. I think I need some water. Let me tell you what's really awesome about this number. If you look at all the features that we have released and that we have landed, right? There is a combined number, the tally of thumbs up on those features and requests, more than 2,500 thumbs up. So we have been looking at that data again to figure out what to do next to serve you, the fantastic Angular community. Whew, let me tell you something fun. This is going to be great. V16 is packed with a ton of content. I didn't even go over everything. There's not even enough time in 1 hour to go over everything. We have a fantastic live stream. We have a recap video. We have a release blog. There are other change notes. So much out there for you to get more information about the things that are packed in V16. Like self-closing tags. Do you know we got that? We do. What about the nonce, the CSP for content security policy? We got a new update for that. So Angular's been very secure. We are compatible with a large variety. But now for that inline styles, you can throw in that CSP. You got that too. Telling you, we got more stuff. How can you get all this new stuff? What do you have to do as the Angular community? Hit that young NG update. Hit that NG update and get all of these good features. We're waiting for you. All right, friends. Thank you for hanging out with us and like talking for the last 45 to 40 minutes or so. I can take a few more questions before we wrap up our time together.
Sure. Sounds great. So there was a question early on from Best Videos. Hello, how can you use Angular? How can Angular use Vite? Can implement SSR resumability instead of hydration? And I guess they're asking for more documentation for NG source optimized.
Okay, Kevin, can we take note of the request for more NG source
Yes.
documentation? Good feedback. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How can we use Vite for that? I don't know if Vite is the only way that we can implement that strategy. We are exploring resumability. When I say exploring, it's because I can't commit to a timeline and what's going to be the outcome. But when I say that we are exploring things, we're spending time on that. Totally.
Okay. Abraham earlier asked, I'm just getting started in Angular. Seems like a really nice framework. It's used a lot in the Dominican Republic. Awesome to hear.
Oh, wonderful.
How do we recommend that Abraham learns Angular?
I know how we can do it. Kevin, do you know how he can learn it?
I do. I thought that this would be a perfect segue into something you've been working on.
Yes, we just launched a brand new course written and recorded by yours truly. If you like the way that I teach and the way that I present to you a brand new course that will get you started. I think that it can be fantastic for you to learn Angular. Here's what we're going to do. We will put this in the chat for you. Will you do that? I got it.
Do that. Okay.
All right, Abraham.
There's the playlist. All right.
So have a look and check it out.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Lance says, I'm looking forward to seeing the full API for signal-based components. So far, signals feel like an interesting toy, but the real power will come with zoneless components. So I guess more of a comment.
That's right. Question. That's right, Lance. So you getting started right now is only for comfortability and exercising the API surface, right? Because right now it's still driven by zones. And like you said, Lance, which is completely spot on, once the API surface expands because we're able to figure out the zoneless story or the optional zone story. Let's call it that. That's a better way because optional zones means that apps that use zones still work, right? And you can opt out if you don't need it. So as we continue to explore and manifest that story, you will get to the true power, like you said. Yep, good comment. Love that.
All right. Andre said, I already tried with toSignal, but only the first request is performed and is not performed when the filter is changed. I don't know if they used it correctly.
Okay, that might be something that we can just find out because I don't know enough about it right offhand.
Okay.
I'd have to debug with you to figure out that, Andre.
Travis said, I'm excited by the simple API of signals. I would love it if you can retain a small API footprint going forward.
What's up, Travis? Thanks for coming by. Yeah, that's a goal. We don't want to have a really, really vast API. If you want to see what our plans are at the high level, check out that RVC because we talked a lot about what we plan to do, some of the lifecycle methods, how things could change given the use of signals in Angular. So check out that RFC and let us know what you think.
All right, we have another comment by Hemant. The new material modules are heavier than the legacy ones. How would that affect the total bundle size?
Oh, good question. Yeah. I don't know right offhand. But Kevin, let's flag that one for to take back to the component team and see if we can get some information to be helpful here.
And then I think the last question I have is from Bill. Since you mentioned customizing design, any word on supporting the part pseudo element?
Oh, is that supported in Chrome yet? Let me see. I want to look. I'm gonna look. Give me the look. Can I use? How about can I use? Let's see what can I use says about part. So part, So part looks like it's somewhat supported. Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Oh no, part has a good support, just not in IE, of course. It should work now. If it doesn't work, let me know, Bill, if that's not working for you. I believe it should work now. Yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't work if it's just a part of the CSS spec.
We just had one more question come in. Have we heard about analog.js? I'm not.
Yeah, so I do know about analog.js, and it's great. The library author is also great, doing some really great work around it. And how that plays into our story, we're hoping that as we build out stuff, it all works together. Even though we are doing some server-side rendering and hydration work, we're hoping to be able to build the foundation that even analog could benefit from. Yeah, good stuff. Brandon Roberts is 7'11", just to let everybody know.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. I guess I'll just do a quick reminder of the things I mentioned at the beginning in case you missed it. V16 launched last week. That's what we've been talking about this entire time. So please check it out. We also have a live event that goes into even more detail than we did here and answering some questions from the community. So definitely check that out. That's also on our YouTube. We had I/O today and yesterday. Lots of cool announcements there. We have some videos that you can check out. What's new in Angular, what's new in the web. Lots of stuff about signals, workshop, reactivity, and a code lab. So please check those out. We've got some new blogs. So if you're interested in-depth reading on what's going on in Angular, check out blog.angular.io. And ngconf is coming up. So if you're in the San Francisco Mountain View area and you're looking to meet other amazing Angular developers, we encourage you to check that out and see if that might work out for you. And I think that kind of wraps things up. Thank you all so much for swinging by. I think there might be one last question. Do you have a minute?
I think I'm out of time for today, but I'll review questions.
Drop the question in a comment, Hemant, and we will get to that. Apologies for not getting to it here. But yeah, we look forward to seeing you all on the next stream. It might be a gaming stream. I've heard in the streets, as it were. And yeah, we will be back with a meetup soon as well. So look forward to that. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for all your great questions. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, friends. We appreciate you. Go build some great apps.